Your Creative Push, episode 39.
There's nothing really to be scared of. You love doing it, so just do it.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I am your host, Youngman Brown, and my guest today is Martin Aveling. Martin is an English artist with an African heart. Born into a family of zoologists in 1982, he grew up amidst forest and savannah creatures of Central and Eastern Africa. He has held successful solo exhibitions in Africa, Europe, and the United States, and has exhibited with the Society of Wildlife Artists and at the David Shepard Foundation's Wildlife Artist of the Year event. A driving force for Martin's work is his commitment to conservation efforts for endangered wildlife, and through his art, he continues to support the work of selected wildlife charities. Now, Martin, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. And
not at all.
Yeah, I know you've had an amazing, beautiful, and sometimes scary story, and I was wondering if you could kind of set the stage for us by telling us that story.
Yeah, absolutely. I was incredibly lucky to be born into a family of zoologists. I think I spent pretty much all of my childhood in Africa. We lived in Kenya, and then before that, what was then known as Zaire, and now it's called the Democratic Republic of Congo. And yeah, my parents were at the time young zoologists, kind of starting out on their careers, and they landed a job working with mountain gorillas in Zaire, which was pretty spectacular, pretty spectacular place. I've traveled quite a lot, and of all the places I've been to, I think probably one of the most diverse in terms of wildlife. Just incredible. And I was with them on that journey, so. It was, I guess, for a young kid, the best playground imaginable.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was crazy. But being a young kid, as I was, I completely took it for granted. You know, you don't really question things. It was just like, yeah, everyone else has mountain gorillas as their neighbors. That's normal. You know, it's
right.
Yeah. But it wasn't until obviously much later on in life when I realized just how privileged I was to spend time amongst those animals, because you know, to go and see mountain gorillas now, it costs a lot of money, as it rightly should, because they're incredibly endangered. There's only about 800 mountain gorillas left in the world, which is just it's a mental statistic, really, when you think about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where I started out, and that's kind of, I guess it was inevitable that I'd be interested in animals, given my parents' background and where they took me. It's their fault completely. Yeah, and then gradually, then after that, we moved to Kenya, and I was at school in Kenya, and obviously that came with a lot of wonder. And East Africa is fantastic for seeing wildlife, incredible diversity there, great people, and just a wonderful country to grow up in and spend some time. And then it was sort of my late teens, I guess. I came to the UK for school and then university. And I didn't actually study art at university. I went and studied geography because at the time, I guess, I didn't see it as a viable profession. But something was always bringing me back. I mean, I drew all the time ever since I first picked up a pencil. I don't think I've gone more than a couple of weeks without drawing something. And so, having lived my entire life like that, it was strange for me to think that I might not be doing that, you know, for my job. So I took the decision after university to actually try and give it a go. It's not a natural progression, geography to wildlife artist, but I thought I'd try it, and I'm glad I did. It certainly wasn't easy at times, but it's meant that I've kept doing what I love and kept drawing what I'm passionate about, which is wildlife.
Absolutely, and it's it's amazing. When I first came across your work, I thought you were a photographer,
Oh,
like at first glance,
wow.
because it's just that good. It's that lifelike.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, dude. Like, each animal like has like a personality almost,
Yeah.
like you pluck them right out of existence.
Well, that's I mean they are the stars of the show. It's the animals. It's not me. I mean, my first passion was wildlife, and then I
Hmm.
discovered that I could draw them. So yeah, that's why I tend to do these quite detailed portraits on very clear white backgrounds, so that it doesn't detract too much from the animal. But yeah, the detail, I just got a bit obsessed with detail, and I kind of tried to hone that over the years. But yeah, I hope that they are sort of, once that maybe you see them initially, you think, well, that's quite photorealist, but I hope that they also look like good works of art, because it's tough to try and sort of strike that balance, you know. So I guess traditionally a lot of wildlife art was kind of, I guess, what I describe as quite chocolate box. You know, you'd have your scene, your savannah, a couple of rhinos, a few trees, that kind of thing. Whereas I'm trying to make my work give it more of a sort of contemporary feel. And I actually like to play around with composition a lot, and kind of push the boundaries a little bit with sort of negative space, because I think that helps engage the viewer more. If you say, for example, it's not hard to explain, but say, I'll have a big piece of paper, and then I'll have an elephant coming in from the side, but won't have it right in the middle of the page. I'll just have it coming in from the side, just the head. And then you've sort of got the rest of the page, which is what you imagine it's going to walk into. And the fact that it's at the top of the page gives it that sense of how big and powerful it is. Equally, if I'm drawing, say, a baby elephant, I'll leave a lot of white space above it, sort of to try and sort of describe its vulnerability and that kind of space that it will grow into. And I think if you try and use that space where there's nothing, the negative space, in a creative way, it sort of invites people to engage with it more, and be a part of creating that sort of environment in which it's sitting. And so that's what I'm going for at the moment, and I hope it's working. But yeah, that's my theory at the moment, what I'm working towards.
Yeah, I think it works extremely effectively. And
Oh, thank
one of
you.
the things I was gonna say was, not only does it look photorealistic,
Hmm.
like I said, it has a personality, but it looks like it's literally like plucked out of like a moment in time that you could see where it had just been and
Yeah,
what it's about to do almost. Like that's
great,
like
great.
how long did it take you to figure out how to do that? Like how long
Oh,
of studying the animals and how they move for you to be able to like not only figure out how they act and like how they kind of move,
yeah.
to figure out like how to actually put that on paper,
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a long time, a long time. I think a lot of it happened naturally, and I think I had the advantage of that upbringing, in that I was surrounded by animals at a very, very early age. You know, when you're so young and your mind is like a sponge, and you're just taking in everything. Um, I think the fact that, yeah, I was in the presence of a lot of wildlife gave me, I think it translates into my work, in that I kind of got an appreciation for how it looks from every angle, how it moves, and what it's about, how it interacts with other animals of its kind. And I think that's certainly helped in the long run. And then having that sort of grounding, I've then just drawn and drawn and drawn and drawn. It's all about the hours that you put in. You do improve, even if you're not seeing it happen in real time. You then look back. So actually, recently I discovered an old folder of artwork from when I was quite young, I guess 8 through sort of 15, and that was really fun to see, and kind of strange. But I do, a lot of the pieces I just say, oh yeah, I remember doing that one. Oh, that's crazy. I hadn't thought of that in years. But then you obviously see the progress, how much you've come on, and it's just down to the hours. I think it was interesting seeing those pieces actually, because I think I was probably when I was at my most creative was in those early years when I just drew. I didn't overthink things. I just drew because I loved it, because it was fun. And when I started a piece, I'd just dive straight into it. There wouldn't be any hesitation, and I might just pick up a felt tip pen and do it, or I might pick up a paintbrush or a pen, whatever it was. I just dived straight in. And I think, I guess after that, kind of worked out which mediums worked best for me, and then going through school, art exams, all that kind of thing. I kind of sort of came around to the pastel pencils, and that's the medium I've been using ever since, really. And yeah, really enjoy them. But what was your question, actually? I've gone off on a bit of a tangent.
Well, I'll get back to that, but I just wanted to touch on what you said. I think it's a really good lesson in there to be able. We were actually discussing before we started the podcast about my episode 0 and how I'm already. It's been a month, but I'm already embarrassed of it. I think.
Yes, well, no, like I said, you should not be. But...
Oh, well, thank you, but I think it's really important to go back and look at your old, to kind of dive in, like you're saying, dive in without overthinking it too much and not really worrying about how good it'll be. And then you can always look back, and it's always a good feeling. It should be a good feeling to look back and be like, oh, that wasn't that good, because that means that you really progressed,
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. It is good to see, and the more you work at it, the more time you put in, on the pastels or the keyboard or whatever it is you're doing, the better you will get. It's just the way it practice. I wouldn't say practice makes perfect, because I don't think anyone ever gets to perfection. But it certainly helps a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think perfection is quite achievable thing, which is a good thing.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. There's always room for improvement or evolution,
For sure. Now, one of my favorite pieces of yours is your Bengal tiger. And I mean, for anybody listening that hasn't seen it yet, definitely go check it out. And I'll put a link to it in the yourcreativepush.com/Martin Aveling. But I mean, the eyes of that thing, are like a painting that themselves, it's just amazing to me. But what story are you trying to tell with those eyes?
I have to say, eyes are probably my favorite subject.
You're awesome at them.
Oh, thank you very much. I do love them. I think with any piece where the eye is prominent, I always start at the eye, because it's the window to the soul. It's where all the emotion is conveyed. And it's strange for me to be working on a piece with the eye just just not filled in, because it just doesn't come alive until you get going on that eye. So yeah, I don't know when it was exactly that I kind of got obsessed with drawing eyes, but at some point I did, and I think they're probably the pieces I enjoy doing most. Are the ones where you get that prominent eye. But yeah, I think that one that you're referring to, the Bengal tiger, I decided to put another tiger in the eye. I don't know if you picked up on that. Yeah, of course you did.
It's so cool.
But everyone does, actually. It's funny.
Yeah.
I guess people with a keen eye for detail like yourself would. I thought that would be fun, and just to have that, and that kind of tiger watching tiger, it suddenly becomes it's all about them, and you sort of go into that and try and think what's happening here. Is it a threat? Is it a tiger? Another male tiger? Is it a female tiger? What's happening there?
What is it? I want to know.
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah,
it's up to you. Is that a bit of a Life of Pi kind of answer?
Yeah, it's okay.
I wasn't entirely sure when I was doing it. I probably thought it was a threat from another male tiger, but
that's what I thought too.
It's okay. Well, it doesn't have to be. Could be a female.
True.
It could be the look of love.
True. Well, yeah, I love that though. I love your answer too. To leave it up for interpretation, to kind of have the viewer in mind as well as you're doing it.
Well, Yeah, exactly. Because it's not just for me. The art now, I'm doing it professionally. It's quite far from it. It's for everyone. So that's why I'm trying in my work now to produce stuff that is more engaging with the audience as opposed to just something I've drawn stuck up there. I do want to engage people. But it's quite a hard one to do. It's taken me a long time to get to this stage.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of experimentation but it's still sort of true to that kind of the craft, which is something I've always admired in art and music, is when you can see that there's real craft gone into that, long, hours and talent. I like that kind of art a lot more than some of the modern conceptual art. That's for sure. Anyone could put a shark in formaldehyde, but not everyone can draw one.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you suggest to somebody who, that sees that gap between like their skill level and what you do? What would you suggest to them to kind of get through that, to, kind of keep going, as you said, and to not get discouraged?
I'll send them some of the pieces I used to do.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I discovered that I could draw quite early on. Actually, my parents didn't know that I had any ability in art initially. It's quite a funny story. They because it was quite remote, our existence. We were out in the bush a lot, and they were obviously looking for something to distract me. They gave me a pad of paper and a pencil, and sort of I got drawing, and they thought, oh, that looks nice. But it wasn't until kindergarten, actually, when we had to do one of our first assignments to draw a portrait of our mum. And everyone else at school was kind of at that stage just stick men and sort of simple shapes. And I drew this fully formed picture of my mum wielding guns and wearing a cowboy hat, which was weird.
Yes.
And I guess I'd been so distracted by the cowboy hat and guns that I actually failed to put clothes on her. So in essence, I drew my first nude at kindergarten. But yeah. So I guess coming back to what you were saying, I know I had some ability, but at the same time, at school, when I moved around different schools, there were other people there who had, the similar ability or even better, and I just loved drawing so much that I just kept doing it, and I would always be drawing. And it's the time, you put the time in, and you will improve. It's I don't know, it's almost science, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah, it's I would just say to anyone that was, don't compare yourself to people. Just enjoy drawing. If you enjoy drawing, you should just be drawing, and not worrying too much about what other people are, thinking. And you will improve. You put the time in, you will get better naturally. But if you're enjoying it, great.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point that a lot of times people miss, or the kind of the thing that might hold people back from even starting, is that fear of, not being very good at it. And
absolutely.
Yeah, the trick is to, like you said, to just enjoy it no matter what. And if you're not enjoying it, maybe move on to some different kind of creative pursuit until you kind of find your, colored pastels like you.
Absolutely, yeah. Try something else. Yeah, you might just find something that really fits with you. It's all about experimenting, and fear. You mentioned fear it's a strong emotion. It's one of the strongest emotions. But if you can conquer that and get over that and think it doesn't matter so much, actually, there's nothing really to be scared of. You love doing it, so just do it. You might produce something fantastic that you think is worthy of sharing, or that'll give you a thrill. You might produce something that you don't think that's good. That's fine too. Mistakes are good. It's good to make mistakes. That's what helps you evolve as an artist, and what helps you get better. So really, it's win-win. There's nothing to lose.
Absolutely. And I love that mentality, man.
Yeah.
you already talked about who you do the artwork for, but I'd like to talk a little bit about what you do the artwork for too, as well, with your charity work.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I guess, only natural that I'd want to support wildlife conservation, given that it was my big inspiration from the start. I mean, I feel like, if anything, I owe it to the animals. So yeah, I do try and use my art as a way of communicating a conservation message, and almost all of my exhibitions to date have supported wildlife in some way or another. I have to say, social media, because in the time that I've been an artist professionally, I think when I started, maybe Facebook was just on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember when that would have been, in the early 2000s, and
Early 2000s.
Instagram was nowhere to be seen, Twitter didn't exist, and throughout my time as an artist, all these things have come to the forefront, and it's a great way of engaging with people and getting people interested in a subject that you're interested in. In my case, wildlife conservation, and through the likes of Twitter, I've been able to interact with people, great names from the worlds of sport and entertainment, even poker, actually. Liv Boeree is a great advocate for wildlife conservation.
Yeah.
And she's supported a campaign that I was involved with a couple of years ago to doodle a rhino, which was then auctioned for charity. She's a good artist as well as just being a good poker player. She's quite talented person. That sort of access is fantastic, and it gives you the ability to reach a much wider audience and raise money for a very good cause. I guess it's the driving force behind all my work is doing something for the animals that I'm portraying.
Absolutely. Well, good on you for that, man. I mean, it's a very good, noble cause, and you're amazing at it. So.
Oh, well, thank you very much. For me, it's honestly, I have to do it. It's my duty, really. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. I feel like a lot of people have that kind of duty, that calling, or that that thing on their mind that they're not quite able to do it. But that's perfect that you say that it's your duty, because that's what the show's kind of all about. So we appreciate that you fulfill your duty.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everyone should fulfill it. Yeah, everyone's got something that they want to do, and it's great to be creative. Honestly, I think you sleep better at night if you've done something a little bit creative in the day.
Absolutely, you're not up thinking about it all night.
Exactly, you've satisfied that side of the brain. They're two different sides, isn't it? You have the left side, the right side. If I sleep a lot worse if I've had a day where I haven't necessarily been on the pastels and I've been doing, I don't know, more marketing stuff. I don't sleep as well. I think if I've had some time on the pastels, I've satisfied that side, that creative, compulsion, I sleep a lot better.
Yeah, it's like feeding yourself.
It is. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right, Martin, now it's time for the final push, and this is where I ask you to reach through the microphone and grab the shoulder of somebody you've already inspired today and give them that final push into action.
Okay, well, we all know, I know, all your listeners know that it's hard to schedule creativity, but sometimes you do need to make that little bit of extra effort to kind of coax it out. And a friend of mine whose grandmother was a well-known children's author, she had a great saying, which was, "Don't get it right, get it written." And I was trying to think what the equivalent in art would be, and the best I came up with was, "Don't get it drawn, get it doodled." Principle is the same, basically. You just have to do it and not be held back by fear of making mistakes, because all those things are good. And coming back to what I was saying before, it's a win-win situation, Even if you produce something that you feel isn't fantastic, you're going to learn from that, you're going to grow from that. So what have you got to lose? Just get down and do it.
Perfect, man. That's such good advice.
Short and sweet, I think. People know.
Absolutely.
People know.
Wow.
But I would encourage your listeners to send in some of the work. I mean, maybe you're doing it already, but receiving work from people, but you could share it if they were willing, or I think everyone listening to this podcast are going to be cool, creative people. They're going to be, that's like the best focus group ever.
Yeah.
So I think I just want to encourage people to get creative in whatever field it is they want to do, and share it, because sharing is caring.
Absolutely. We actually, that's funny that you mentioned that, because a few people have written in, and I want to get them as guests on the show, because I think
Definitely.
you've reached a level of success, and that's great. And I'm happy to have awesome, inspiring artists, but I also want to have on the show people who aren't quite
Absolutely.
there, people who haven't even shared their work before, maybe, or just
Definitely.
haven't made a cent from it, to come
Definitely.
on the show. So
That would be very, very interesting to hear that side. And then in 10 years' time, they maybe will have had a lot of success, and hopefully this podcast will still be going, and they'll come back on and they'll tell you about all the success they have had.
Absolutely. Oh, I got the chills thinking about that. That'd be perfect. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. Yeah.
So Martin, thank you again, man, so much for coming on the show today.
No problem. I've really enjoyed it.
And you can find Martin on his website at avelingartworks.com. That's AVELING artworks.com. On Facebook, he is Martin Aveling Art, and on Instagram and Twitter, Aveling Artworks. Anything else, Martin?
That's it. Yep. Find me there. Come say hi.
Cool. Yeah, come say hi. All right, Martin, thank you again so much for giving us that push today. We really appreciate it, brother.
No problem. All the best.
Gosh, just such a great conversation with Martin. He's a really great artist and, a really great guy, and his artwork serves a really awesome purpose. And I really love when I connect with one of my guests so much that I end up talking like them. I said pastels. But I love how he kept going back to the fact that, if you're afraid of that, the gap, as we've talked about many times on the show, if you're afraid of that gap, the difference in talent between you and him, or you and your favorite artist, your favorite writer, your favorite musician, your favorite photographer, whatever it is that your passion is, the only way to close that gap is to put the time in. And you will improve, and you might not see it tomorrow, but over a long period of time, if you keep doing it every day, you're eventually going to look back at what you did a year ago, and you're going to see that improvement, and that's going to help to snowball your creativity, help to push you further, because you can see that progress. It's just a simple yet powerful idea, but it's the thing that really just holds so many people back, because there's always tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll work on my hobby, I'll work on my talent, I'll work on my passion tomorrow, but today I'm just gonna zone out and not think about it. You gotta stop doing that. You gotta stop doing that. Spend this weekend working on your craft, whatever it is. Just put some time in. You don't have to worry about what you produce. It's just about putting in that time and really trying to enjoy it while you do it. Don't stress out about it. And yes, what Martin said at the end of the episode is so applicable. Please, if you are doing work, send it to me. And especially if it's work that's kind of inspired by this show, if it's helping to push you, please, send it my way. I would love to see it. Nothing would make me happier and give me that push. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me, it's as easy as just shooting me an email, youngman@yourcreativepush.com. I absolutely cannot wait to hear from you. And, I don't have to share it with everybody. Just let me know. But I would love to see it. I've already connected with many of you on Instagram, which is awesome. And speaking of, you can head over to instagram.com/yourcreativepush, where you can see I put together these quotes for the show from each guest. And most of them are, just meant for inspiration. But Martin was kind enough to let me use his artwork and overlay some quotes onto it. So 2 for 1, you'll be able to see the inspiring quotes that you heard today matched with his art. So, I really hope that you enjoy that. And also check out instagram.com/avelingartworks to check out Martin's work, as well as, the things that he's currently working on and the things that he cares about. And of course, you can get those links in the show notes page, as well as everything else we've talked about today at yourcreativepush.com/Martin Aveling. Aveling. So it was really inspiring for me talking with Martin and listening back over to the episode. And, I really hope that it was also inspiring for you for today and, to push you through this weekend to get some work done. So I hope you really enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for listening, subscribing, and, reaching out to me. It means the world to me. But we will be here for you all next week. If you need that push some more, got some great guests lined up, and we're going to keep doing this thing. So have a great and productive weekend, and I will catch you on Monday. Have a great day.